Today, my guest is a returning guest to CREPN Radio. It's Vinney Chopra. Vinney is an accomplished multifamily syndicator, and he's appeared a couple of times here recently. We've been committed to going through some aspects of multifamily, and we're going to build on that again today. But first, a quick reminder, if you like the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can do this. You can like, you can leave a comment, or you can also share the show and subscribe. Also want to invite you, if you'd like to watch the show, we have our YouTube channel where you can watch myself and the guest. That's Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. If you go to YouTube and type that in on the search engine or search bar, you'll find us. All right. Now with that, I'd like to welcome our guest, Vinney Chopra, back to CREPN Radio. Vinney, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. It's a pleasure to be back here with you again.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Before we do, just in case somebody didn't listen to one of the other episodes we've done, if you could give just a real quick little bit about your background, and so we can get the audience up to speed.
Sure. I am from India originally. I came into this country many moons ago. I'm a mechanical engineer from India and came for my master's in business administration. I liked the marketing and sales so much. Then I left the engineering behind and never looked back. And I was a promotional consultant, motivational consultant for a long time, and been investing in single family and so forth. But then I became a broker in 2004. And that's when I caught the bug of multifamily investing. That was the best thing I did. And I did a lot of research, a lot of training, got coached by one of the very finest in the nation. And then I also wanted to look into how I can scale up quickly, not just, one property we could afford 20 units or 50 units, but how could I get thousands of units? And that's when syndication world came into my life. And that's OPM, other people's money, how we can harness that in legal way through SEC ruling, Securities and Exchange Commission ruling. And that's the world I've lived in for the last 11, 12 years. And it's been just beautiful. We have, captured, acquired, and managed over $200 million worth of real estate, and about 134 million just in the last 3 years that we did 12 syndications. So I'm really excited, and my passion now is I have that big fund, as you know, $50 million, and then we're going to be purchasing another $250 million. Oh yeah, with a B. Wow. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
That'll make you smile, right? Keep a guy smiling when you know you get $1 billion real estate you're looking for. That's awesome. That's great. Well, that's probably a great little segue into our topic today. The fact that you've raised that much money and the many deals you've done. Because today we're going to talk about how to attract and communicate with investors. And so and I'll let you kind of lead this a little bit as far as how to guide the conversation, but I'm kind of curious. Sure. If we start with, why it's important.
Surely, Darren. I think the key thing about the world of syndication, if I may say, if we don't have good investors, could be family, friends, which I'll explain, circle of influence, I call it. The very closest ones are our family, friend, relatives who believe in us, who have seen us, and hopefully they can see the desire of our audience, whoever want to get them involved in syndication or joint venture, also we call it, or TIC, that's the tenants in common structure, because any kind of family member would like to work with us or give us money if it's legally sound. And also if they have the confidence that we won't lose their money. That is a huge part in the whole equation, because everybody's got their own risks, tolerances, I call it. So as the audience listens to me today, I hope they will not get, disturbed if somebody says, no, it's okay. because see, the thing is, they have their own, every investor, everybody we know, they have their own, background. They might have lost money sometime, and sometimes they might have gained. So they have different risk tolerances, I call it. But the key thing is we need to be working and always looking for new people, new investors, I call it. And we start with the family and relatives first. That's influence number one circle. Second one is then we go to our, acquaintances, a little bit farther out. Then we go to the business associates. That's the third circle of influence. That's where if we are a broker or a real estate, agent or CPA or attorney or doctor or pharmacist, we need to look at who are the people at our work who have money in IRAs and 401ks and pension plans, or they have cash money that's only making like 1% or 0.15 or 2%. How many of they can be helped with syndication, pulling the money together legally, where they can make 8% preferred per year? So we always give in our companies, and a lot of other people too, 7 or 8% preferred class A member, we call it, in the LLC, and they get paid first. And the general partners like myself, who is on the loan and qualifies and finds the deal, and then also acquires, operates, and disposition all in my lap. So the investors are passive investors, we call them. They are limited partners, but they are passive. They do not get involved in the, like we call it in rental business, toilets, trash, and tenants.
Right.
They don't have
Right.
to worry about it.
No.
Our investors just go 4 times to their mailbox to pick up their check. So it's walking to the mailbox 4 times a year, every quarter.
So you guys distribute quarterly then, is that right?
Quarterly, yeah. I don't believe in paying monthly. I know some people do. I think the monthly checks are so small that it doesn't make a big impact. By giving them 3 months together in a quarter, it makes a bigger impact. And also, it's much less hassle. I think I designed the whole systems so that we don't have to do too much work either. So we do bill pay through Wells Fargo Bank, where we never have written a check in last 12 months, 12 years. Actually, we give out about $250,000 to 350,000, cash flow checks go out every quarter now from our companies.
Wow, that's real money. That's good. So you've kind of talked to who the investors are. So, and I guess the who, that's probably even a better place to start than the why. So the who we've got our circle of influence. Start with our family, friends, work acquaintances, and build out, like you said, on the circle of influence. So now we've identified the who, and would it be better to start with what we're going to communicate to them, or why, or
Totally.
how would you go? What
For
would be the?
sure, for sure.
Okay.
I would say even with the circle of influence, we would like to go a little further. I would highly recommend, and I'm sure it's very common knowledge that we want to, where we are living in that community, the project out our credibility to the investors through a credibility kit, I call it, where we have recommendation letters, we have a little PowerPoint presentation put together. I also provide anybody who, sends me an email or like that, kind of give my educational brochure, I call it, from my company, that we got it written out, very beautiful, 30-page. And then also, showing people the strength, because the new people don't have track record. See, that's the biggest thing which happened with me 12 years back when I sat in the front of my friend and he says, "How many deals have you done?" I said, "0." He says, "Oh, where are you buying?" I said, "In Texas. We are in California, near, San Francisco." He says, "How much experience you have?" I said, "0." So everything was 0, 0, 0. But he believed in me.
Yeah, I was to say.
And it will come across, our investors. But the key thing is we want to make sure that we are able to impress them with the knowledge we have gained and all the things that we can share with them about why multifamily is the best way, having all that, educational side of it, because a lot of people are not familiar with apartment buildings.
Right.
Lots of them do go and they buy single family homes, majority of them, even entrepreneurs or attorneys and CPAs, they just don't have time. So that is so very important, for us to really, really go ahead and get that, impress upon them. But let's talk about also meetup groups, Toastmaster groups, RIA groups, local Chamber of Commerce, Better Business Bureau. These are where all the people are gathering, the high officials in that neighborhood. That's where we can really also get the investors. I wanted to mention that. So it's relatives, friends, our circle of, contacts, which is colleagues and work and so forth. And then we'll be going into the meetup groups and philanthropy groups also. I find that's where majority of the people who are there at the, philanthropy clubs, they are rich people also. So it's
Sure.
good to kind of associate where the money is, because if the money is there, we'll do well, and that's where the investors will need to be able to get that, from there, right?
Right. Right. No, so we got the who we're looking for and where to find them, right? And you mentioned
Yep, yep, yep.
the credibility book. You want to
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about what's in the credibility book?
Oh, in the credibility book, again, it all depends how much we are able to really gather all the things that we have done. See, the thing is, we got to really dress ourselves up. We got to put together any recommendation letters, all our background, anything which can really bring clout to the investors to believe that, hey, this person is not going to lose my money. I mean, that is the real key. That is the real key in their mind. Would I lose this 50,000 that I give today? Would I get it back or not?
Right.
So we
Right.
have to look from the perspective of the investor. What can we show them? That's why my educational brochure is so important. And by sending it in a digital form or printed form and going over it on a Zoom meeting or GoToMeeting or things like that, people just catch it that, what I'm telling them is not fluff. What I'm telling them is the real deal and how our game plan is going to work. Then I converted that educational book or brochure into a PowerPoint. So in the PowerPoint, I like to show them why USA is becoming a renter's nation, why so many millennials now liking portability, why they would like to live in apartments, and how the rents have been going up. What are the emerging markets where more jobs are coming? So logically, people do think about, if they want to invest with you or not in that emerging market. See, because if we cannot get emerging markets right, we will not have a good solution for them. I mean, a lot of time people ask me, they say, Vinny, why have you scored so well? We have done 26 deals and we've done really well with them, and some of my deals now I'm selling 3.550. I invested, I think I might have mentioned before, for 8.6 million,
Yeah. That's
and
huge.
one of my deal, 8.7, is worth almost 12.7 just in 3 years, So emerging market is also very important. I know I'm taking it to all the places, but the key thing, what you asked me was, how would we build credibility with the investors? And the real great answer, I would say to all the audiences, to put together something in writing, professional. Use a virtual assistant. It might cost you only 50 bucks, 60 bucks. Like the students who have, gained knowledge from me, I give them my brochure. It cost me $4,000 to make that brochure, but I give them in PowerPoint. And they send it to a virtual assistant for 60 bucks. And they changed my whole brochure into a brand new piece for them. And I love it.
Yeah. No, that's great. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you've got a format or a guide to work from. That's good.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you've got inside the credibility book. You talked about
Hmm.
essentially why multifamily is a good investment. You've talked about the fundamentals, the market, the demand,
Hmm.
um, and is there anything when you're putting that together? You mentioned like when you first did it, you didn't have any experience, but your friends that you reached out to believe in you. Is there anything that you can speak to about uh, how to instill that confidence? I mean, obviously the credibility book is going to go and tell a lot about the market, but is there value in teaming up with others? Do you recommend that people, you know,
100%.
yeah,
100%. I would highly, highly recommend that the new people who are starting out in multifamily investing, especially into syndication, because we are buying bigger things, we will need partner who has a high net worth, like if not the person who's starting out, if they have a good net worth but they need more people with higher net worth and liquidity money, they will like to partner. And it's always great to join hands with somebody who's got some experience. They could be putting value into their business and learning it, like I have mastermind group, inner circle group, things like that. So these are the students who can watch me very closely, and then they can also bring the deals to me and things like that. I'm sure there are a lot of other gurus. I'm not only one, as you know.
sure,
And that's what really will make them to get on a faster track if they're able to join hands with, somebody who's done it, who has gone that path. Then it'll be much easier for them to learn from that person. And then, the fear is a big factor, Darren, right?
mm-hmm,
Huge factor, really. I mean, fear really paralyzes us a lot, and we don't want to take that step or things like that. When we are thinking, is this the good deal in underwriting? And do I have the money to fund it? Those are the two big things, right, in
right,
syndication. Is it a good deal, golden deal? The biggest thing I try to tell my students and investors is I never look for money. The money flows if the deal is good. So the
right,
deal has to be good in a good emerging market. And to talk to the investors also, I would say, like my elevator pitch, right? One should have a good succinct elevator pitch. It's like elevator in the sense, if you meet somebody in elevator and they are going to their floor and you're going to your floor, you have such a small segment of few seconds, maybe half a minute or 20 seconds. What can you tell them? Like, my elevator pitch is very simple, like, hi, I'm Vinny, and I always looking for equity partners to invest in commercial real estate with my company. We look for assets that have a value play and a momentum play, which means immediate cash flow right now from the rents, as well as profits, which we share with the investors like you when we sell the asset. If you are interested in learning more, let's set up a time that we can meet together and talk more in detail, and see if this is something for you. Even if it turns out that it's not right for you at this time, it never hurts to explore the possibilities. So just succinct little paragraph. If you can master that in front of the mirror, then if we meet somebody in the grocery store, or in a bank, or maybe elevator, anywhere like that, or at the meeting, RIA meeting, the professional we are will be catching people, and then we can meet them next time and next time, like the 3-point rule with the Securities and Exchange Commission, all those things, right? Pre-existing relationship has to be formed before we get them involved in the deal, in the deal.
right, right. No, that's all good there. I mean, you've got your credibility book and you've got your elevator pitch, and you've identified the who we're looking for, where to find them, what to communicate with them. Um, is there? I'm just trying to think that we basically gone down the who, what, where, when, why. Actually, maybe let's talk about the when. when's a good time to
Sure.
start? Because obviously, if you talked about a good deal will attract money, but if you're starting from zero, how much lead time are you? If you're starting from zero, what's a realistic expectation as far as the time required to get a stable of potential investors?
Sure, Darren. I would say it all depends. Again, I find in my five plates that I talk about all the time, spinning five plates, the two most important plates and they are bigger plates too. Some might be smaller, some are bigger. So the two big ones are underwriting the deal, definitely getting to know the ins and outs, having relationship with the brokers, because we are getting the deals from the seller itself through a campaign, letter campaign, or texting campaign and things like that, or calling, call out. The other thing is underwriting it so that we can get a golden deal. But in the syndication world, deal has nothing to do with it if we don't have investors. If we cannot bring investors to the dance, I call it, when we close do the closing, the investors have to flow the money in so that we can close the deal. And so I would say at least 3 months. 3 months is my number one thing. You got to give yourself 3 months, 90 days to really build the broker relationships and get them to send you some deals off market and on market. Go to LoopNet even just to see some deals and underwrite them so that we can understand it, the ins and outs, the cash flows, the cash on cash, and all the cap rates and NOI, all those stuff. But the other side of the equation is investors. You got to have a Excel worksheet and keep on adding everybody on that Excel worksheet, because then we want to make sure, okay, am I talking to that person? Are we meeting on the phone or one-on-one if possible, but SEC doesn't say you have to meet everybody belly to belly. We could do it through phone, and we could do it through videos and FaceTime, all that stuff, but we need to record it. See,
Right.
a lot of people miss that step. They miss that step that, we need to keep on recording when we met with them, when we talk to them about their goals and dreams and so forth. We call it curation period, CURATION. So we need to make sure we have already talked to the investors simultaneously as we are trying to find the best deal. But then the investors should also know that you are looking for a property in that area, in that emerging market. I like to put everything in a Dropbox, and then I date them, and then I send them my investors as one or two or three or five or 10 or 15. I keep on giving them new information on the emerging market so that they could feel that, oh, Vinney is looking into deals in this market. So they are ready, kind of, mindset, right? So once you bring a deal, but you have already softened them up, the investors are kind of ready to jump in then. If
Right.
you show them the good numbers and projections, not off the wall projections, but reasonable, conservative, assumptions and projections. That's very, very important.
No, that's good. That's
Uh,
good. So you've been doing this now for 12 years.
right.
Um, Once you got started and you got your first deal underway, um, what have you seen? I mean, obviously you've done multiple deals. Is it
Mhm.
likely that because I mean, is there some momentum that you've seen people experienced where all of a sudden you find one, now the brokers recognize you're closing, that you're getting more opportunities, and just kind of snowball from there?
Totally, Darren. You hit the nail on the head. You're right. We are called as performers in the marketplace. So the brokers love, syndicators like me and others who are able to close on time, that they are not paying in the, what, and so forth like that. So as a performer, if you can close the deal nicely, they will give you more deals, because the broker's main emphasis is, they want to close it fast. They would want to look good in the seller's eyes and themselves too, least amount of time. And they love us, my companies, because we are able to catch them before even the operating memorandum stage. What that means is it takes them about 30 days to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to design this 55-page booklet to market that property,
Right.
and lots of graphics, a lot of data and all that. But if you get a pocket listing and we can click it and close it, then they don't have to do anything, and then by buying it from the listing broker, I give my commission to them also, which everybody can do the same if you don't have a buyer's broker, and that helps them to make double the money also, which is a good thing. Now, investors side, what I designed was, and I was sharing with my mentor, Dave Lindahl, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that's a great idea, Vinny. I actually get 100% of my money." Can you believe it? Every closing, I've done 26 of them, 100%, or mostly 95 to 100% of my commitments are in the bank. A lot of people tell me that, Vinny, we have to get 150% of the commitments to get 100% of the money. But I give them 2% interest from the day they wire the money into the LLC account up to the day of closing. So that small thing, which I started 7, 8 years back, has helped me so much. I tell all my investors, fill out the paperwork, first come, first serve, but you got to put the money, wire the money into the LLC account. Then I can show to my lender also that I've got million, 2 million, 3 million sitting there, like that. And I give them 2% interest from the day of wiring to the day of closing.
And is that through the lender? I mean, not the lender, but the bank where you've got the money held? I mean, are you earning that much in like a cash account? Are you taking that out of earnings, or how are you doing that?
I have actually given it from my side. I
Okay.
mean, we make acquisition fee of 3 to 5% at the day
Okay.
of closing. So it's a very small amount. Darren, it has been maybe a few thousands of dollars in
Sure.
my case. And it's not bad. But the key thing is that I've never lost sleep overnight, or stressed out just because the money didn't come,
Right.
the day of the closing.
Right. No, that's a great idea, because I've heard that from others where there's a mad scramble at the last minute, or somebody
Yes.
backs out and you had a commitment and you were counting on them, and all of a sudden they said, "Hey, something else come up. I can't do it."
Totally, totally.
So
Things
uh,
happen.
that's
Life
good.
is such, things happen. But by having that money 30 days or 45 days ahead of schedule, that helps a lot. It really does. It really does.
Got it. So let me ask you this: once you've got the deal, what kind of a frequency are you communicating with your investors? You mentioned that, and actually, maybe let's talk about from you've got the commitments, you've got the money's in account. Now you're ready to close. What kind of communications are you having with your investors? Right up to closing, after closing, and then kind of talk about the frequency after you've
Sure,
acquired the asset.
sure. Darren, I'm so glad you said that, because my business has really grown because of investors feeling good about that. I keep them updating where their money is. And that's the key factor in the syndicator's world. You got to always be thinking and preparing your investors and giving them all the lines of communication to reach you if they have any question, things like that. As soon as the property closes, of course, I share with them that we are this close to closing, like about a couple of weeks before the real close, that we have done the due diligence, the title came out all right, the loan has been approved, the inspector from the lenders are there, appraisal came out all right, all that stuff, right? But then once we close the property, within 1 month, I have a webinar, on a Zoom meeting or GoToMeeting, which is live. And I invite all my investors in that particular syndication to come and ask me questions. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I take all the investors through the closing statement. In my companies, we are very transparent. We show them everything, and they can get any kind of invoices and bank statements and all the kind of things. Not just the P&L, profit and loss, or rent roll, but we give everything they want, anything they want, no limit. So that's what I do. I teach them and show them closing statements and all. 1 month later, I meet with my investors again to show them the transition, takeover of the property now, so that they could see some pictures, they could see the management, who are managing it, community managers picture, their profile, their background. Then also we have the, you know, what you call it, uh, oh, oh, their whole staff, the service team and all. And then I show the websites, the medias, uh, like that, to show them. And then the third meeting I do, third month now, is about the software, how we are collecting rents, how we have scanners in each property, because we manage all our assets, right? We don't give to third party. So that's what my investors really like, that Vinney is in constant communication. And in the last 12 years, can I say that? Wow, I think maybe only 5 to 7 investors out of 130 have gone to see the property. But I show them so much in the pictures and in the PowerPoints and everything that they just feel like they just went there without going there. They see that, Vinny just came back. This is my live pictures. So that way, proper communication is so important, so very important. My 7 investors probably gave me 49 investors. Can you
Oh,
believe
wow.
it? I
That's
have
great.
only met with 28 out of 130, like belly to belly. But mostly they have been recommendations, at their work, and their brothers, sisters, or their children, siblings. And they said, Vinny, we would like to meet with you and we want to invest. So that's why we are really fortunate. And I think I'm not unique. Everybody could do that, really, because if we have the fiduciary responsibility in our forefront and making sure that investors are totally satisfied in every aspect, will do
Yeah,
well.
that's good. So you were talking about, I mean, all the information that you communicate with the investors, and the frequency, I guess, once the property's been acquired,
Yes.
got it. Do you communicate weekly, monthly,
No,
quarterly?
no weekly, no monthly at all. To be truthful, I think I do first 4 months, like every
Okay,
month, but
right.
after that, quarterly. So we
Quarterly.
only do 4 a year then after that. But I do send them newsletter. Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's a newsletter with some links of some positive, news and things like that. I would love to share. I mean, I've been just ecstatic. Friday, I found out from my broker, the 2 properties I purchased in Atlanta, one has gone up in value by 2.5 million. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my
In
God. How long have you had it?
literally 11 months,
Oh my
11
gosh.
months, this property has gone up in value. And the other one, he just sent me again another email where my 267 units I bought for 37,000 something, the across the street just sold for 53 a door,
Oh my
just
gosh.
across the street, you
Almost
know.
double, huh?
Yeah, thank you. So that just tells me that the emerging market plays such a big, important role in a syndicator's life, because you got to make sure that jobs are coming and that your property is well, in a good path of progress or growth.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, Vinny, you're clearly the voice of experience, and you've proven. I mean, your track record speaks for itself based on the results you've been able to achieve over the last 12 years. Before we wrap this up, and I want to reiterate, you've given some excellent kind of some steps, some reasons, and some hows to establish credibility and the communication one needs to establish with investors to attract investors and how to communicate with them. Is there any words of wisdom you'd like to share just to summarize what we've talked about or anything that we've missed before we wrap this up?
Oh, sure. I would say that, Darren, the key thing is it's like batting, right? You got to be out in the field to bat, to score. And that's the key that I'd really like to communicate. Don't get depressed. People should have the attitude of plenty, abundance, and also don't judge anybody. I have found money. I thought that this person would have only 50,000, but come to find out they have 500,000 cash sitting there, in IRAs and other places. And I just had a friend of mine call. He's got $1 million cash in the bank, million
Oh,
dollar,
wow.
you know, and he wants to put 250 or so in the bank, in my fund. And so don't prejudge. The other thing is, if you're really sincere about syndication, you'll have a wonderful lifestyle. You really will. I've seen myself, and my family has seen, how by scaling up a little bit higher level, what you were making only 3,000 a year, now you're making 300,000 a year just from that one property,
Yeah.
so there is a big gain to be gotten. But the thing is, you got to work on two things: investors and everybody around us. There is ton of money having the attitude of abundance, and then making that Excel worksheet and writing it down and doing that paperwork, like I said, educational brochure. These are very simple concepts, but we need to just do them. Massive action is the word. What can I do today to get 3 investors or 4, or this week I can get 10, and then underwriting the properties.
No, that's great. That's good. Vinny, I've enjoyed this bunch. Where can the listeners go to find out more and connect with you?
So totally, Darren. As a matter of fact, we just got a texting service now, so that your listeners can do it right from their car, or if they are, in their office, they could text the word syndication, just like the word SYNDITION, to 474747. That's an easy one, you know.
474747.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got that nice texting service, and we'll get back to them. We'll send them as much information they want, and my educational brochure, my extensive deal analyzer that we sell for $297, we'll give it free, and they can also go to DEAL dot multifamilyacademy.com. By the way, there they get the deal analyzer for free anyway, straight away right there, just by putting their email. And they could reach me. I mean, I'm very easygoing guy. My phone number, just text me 925-766-3518. Myself or my colleagues will be able to answer things, so we are very personable. We are not that big, millions of people or like that. So I'm just trying to do the best I can with everybody that reaches us, Yeah.
Oh, got it. Well, I want to remind the listeners, if you've enjoyed this, to be sure to subscribe, because Vinny and I have committed to doing a number of these focused around multifamily, and there will be more to follow. And so I want to encourage you to do that as well. Okay, with that, Vinny, I want to say thanks again, and we will
Thank you, Dan.
be in touch soon. For our listeners, if you like the show, share it with someone you know. And remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.